I'm gonna try this again. On July 20th, 2010, I died of a heroin overdose. I was gone for a very long time, and I came back with one big breath with no Narcan. It was roughly 7 to 10 minutes. While I was there, I met Prince, and he told me all about the multiple identities. He told me about contracts with the underworld, the demonic music industry, and he told me and showed me how he had been tortured and used. The torture techniques are, it's D1X, it's human endurance. It comes from the Nazi torturers that Rome brought over under the guise of false religion. And that's what he also told me about, was the false religion and the white religion, the white supremacy religions in the world. And I really must share this information with you. If you look up here, see it says D1X, and if you read it backwards, it's KID for kid, and that's why Prince called himself the Kid. Everything he did was letting us know, because he saw the future, which is now, and he told me about it during my clinical death. It's why there's songs called Crystal Ball, Future. You know, he saw the future, and when I met him on July 20th, 2010, he explained to me that day that he was free from a hypnosis that he had been kept under, like a sleep coma with these D1X occult practices.
Slowly candle burns, where they learn hypnosis, how they keep me under for so long.
And that the other Prince was having hip surgery. So I want to get into all of this stuff with you, but I need you to listen to me, because this affects the entire world. If they could get away with what they did in front of the entire world, in front of our eyes, think about what else the white supremacy can get away with. Check some things out with me, okay? Here is what human endurance and pharmaceuticals and psychopharmacology look like. The Scream Machine, because he was being tortured. Now, I know that can be incredibly hard to listen to, and if you go back and listen to the music, you'll never hear it the same way. It's why the magazine articles call him the Scream Machine. Because you guys, when I met him in the afterlife, I didn't just meet him as like a human being. He showed me how he was able to change, and how, well, he had a lot of secrets to tell. And that's why when you study when you research the file, like I have done, and listen to the music for the last 41 years, you'll find that this journalist, Tim Vetcher, after the investigation, he filed a Freedom of Information Act request, and when there's no crime committed, that paperwork should be public knowledge, and it should have all been returned. But instead of returning all the paperwork, the government, and those powers that be that we were talking about earlier, they withheld 97 pages and they blacked out the information and stuff like that. And this is the reason they gave for it. They says explanation of exemptions. And what they're explaining is why they don't have to return all the pages even though no crime was committed. So let's listen to what they had to say.
Specifically authorized under criteria established by an executive order to be kept secret in the interest of national defense or foreign policy.
You guys, national defense or foreign policy. An executive order can only be put in place by the president, who was Obama at that time. So if you didn't know, that's why there was a secret White House party on 6/15 of 15, 666. Executive order to keep the information quiet. However, the thing is, when you start reading the investigations plural, here's for starters. History reviewed, no pertinent past surgical history. So the whole story that Prince Rogers Nelson died from taking Vicodin laced with fentanyl, only he didn't know it, is BS. And it's part of the reason they withheld the 97 pages. And it's also the reason the medical examiner says the decedent self-administered fentanyl. They didn't call it an accidental overdose. They didn't call it a murder. The decedent, the dead person, self-administered the fentanyl. That's not an accidental overdose, or it would say accidental overdose. The other thing that's relevant to know is the medical examiner calls the death an injury. When you self-inflict, say, a gunshot wound, God forbid, or that's what my sister did, so I know what I'm talking about. When you self-inflict, that's an injury. This decedent self-induced fentanyl. So they say where the injury occurred, it says residence. The residence is not Paisley Park. It's completely separate, and we're talking about different identities and different deaths. Let's look at some more truths. There's been a purposeful propaganda where Prince Rogers Nelson, better known as Prince, is concerned. These are both baby pictures. They were announced that this is Prince, but check this out. This one says Prince Roger Nelson, but then all the other media likes to make memes and jokes saying he's been making guitar faces since he was born. The fact of the matter is they're not guitar faces. It's how he trained himself through the pain to play the instruments and perform anyway. And that's why there was drugs around Paisley Park, because he told me in the afterlife that yes, he was taking medication. He was being tortured. Who could blame him? Fact of the matter is, when the whole thing came down, they couldn't just say, hey, we were torturing Prince. So no, they had to cover the whole thing up and get an executive order, national defense or foreign policy. That's why they can't tell you the truth, right? No, the truth is that the Prince Rogers Nelson image that I met in the afterlife, he explained to me that he didn't really know exactly who he was until he had gotten to that afterlife place. And again, that goes along with the Sign of the Times lyrics. In France, a skinny man died of a big disease with a little name. By chance, his girlfriend came across a needle, and soon she did the same. Prince was touring in Nice, France, July 20th of 2010, when I met him. I died from a heroin overdose from that needle, and I met him in the afterworld. It's like the song, the question of you, must I become naked? No image at all. He was like I don't know, he was able to change. That's why he shows himself as part of this matrix, like a computer. He was like this, he's the maker, he's this grand consciousness, and he speaks to us each through our neshama, our holy souls, and the awareness of our pineal gland, which is why I have all the videos on the 314 pi, because 314, Exodus 314, I am who I am, equals pi, which is 19, or ID 19. He told me about the opioid crisis in our world, and I want you to look at the ID 19 and the word opioid. So I just showed you the Exodus 314 I am that I am. And then there's the mathematical equation, 314 equals pi. And I want you to look at the word pi. Pi is the 16th letter of the alphabet, and I is the 9th letter. So when you put the right letters together, you have ID here and 19 here. So you have ID 19. Now, when you look at the word opioid, consider the O's as zeros. They mean nothing. So you have PI 0 ID, PI or ID 19, the opioid crisis. It was all a plan, you guys. It's all a purposeful plan, and you have to trust me when I say I was told about it in the afterlife. And the other thing is, I know what I'm talking about. It's the reason why a New York pharmacist called Paisley Park 28 times on the morning of 4/21. The thing is, he called between noon and 12:50. The death announcement wasn't made until 1 p.m. Eastern. He called from New York at 12 p.m. to 12:50, 28 times. A New York pharmacist. And guess what a pharmacist can provide? Now, I want you to hear what Chris Gaither, the alleged main bodyguard for Prince, had to say about somebody getting illicit fentanyl. And then he goes on to say that they weren't going to call the doctor in New York when they were in California, because not only is Andrew Reinhardt's, the pharmacist from New York, Howard Kornfeld keeps a New York address too. So you might ask yourself, why torture Prince? Why hurt him? The whole 40-year reign at Paisley Park, the no drugs, no alcohol, Christian Kingdom Hall participant, all of that stuff, that's just media hype, you guys, because media is a complete lie. This is all propaganda, from the baby pictures to everything that the media has been producing surrounding the death for the last 9 years. So why torture somebody that the world loved so much? It's because of who he is, the creator. The contracts that he signed were so that he could perform in this world of ours, and why there's so much smoke and mirror on the stages. And as I've explained before, who they are, white supremacy, the Merovingian 13th Illuminati bloodline, who consider themselves the royal heirs to the throne of King David and the bloodline of Jesus. I'm not going to get into the false religion and false idol that Jesus is. I want you to look at the words GVMT. They can be found in Merovingian government, but they are white supremacy, and they had the power contractually to do these things at Paisley Park. If it doesn't sound crazy enough for you, look at the word RX for pharmacy or pharmaceuticals, which Andrew Kornfeld and Howard Kornfeld were practicing psychopharmacology. Anyway, look at the word RX. R is the 18th letter of the alphabet, and X is 2 1. So in essence, 8 plus 1 equals 9, and 911. So an RX is 911, or guess what? 911 both ways, ID 19. I want to talk to you about something before I take it over to what Chris Gaither had said about getting the drugs. The reason Prince referred to Recasto, the reason for electric fetus, and I believe even the reason that this Jesus, Jewish man who sells himself as God's only son, it's taught that he came from a virgin birth as a miracle. The reason is the power of the Creator is electric. He's our life source. He is the source that wakes us up in the morning, and the one that you should be praying to and thanking for that. But it's why electric fetus, and it's why if you watch some of the other videos specifically, it will talk a lot about what I'm saying right now, because the essence of the Creator is something that in our generation is like the golden calf, and they were like harnessing and using this energy of him contractually while he was kept in a state of hypnosis.
Slow a candle burns, where they learn hypnosis. How they keep me under for so long.
With these pharmaceuticals. And it's why he always has the electricity around him and why he called himself Electric Man.
Call me Electric Man.
So when you watch back some of the concerts, this is a screenshot from Love Sexy. You can see why, well, the prefix con, C-O-N, concerts. C-E-R is part of the word Prince R. Nelson and CERN, so it would be concerts plus the T for the royalty Merovingian bloodline. So these concerts, that's why they use so many smoke and mirrors, why he danced with the mirrors in When Doves Cry. I shared before, it bothers me to talk about him too much. There's like the, why he used the flowers in the background of the Purple Rain. It's like the poppy, P-I, there's all these programming techniques. Even the song I Want to Melt With You, I have a paper published somewhere, I'll try to attach it to here, in which it talks about Disney being a 33rd degree Mason and how they use these satanic Luciferian techniques to brainwash not only during these D1 experiments, but society as a whole. And ultimately, he told me and showed me in the afterlife how he was not only human, but he had subjected himself contractually as the sacrifice of Victor to put forth this energy, as I said, to be used as the golden calf. That's why the song All That Glitters Ain't Gold. His energy was being used through occult soul possession swapping.
Have you ever had the feeling that someone was tearing you up into little bitty pieces that were contemplating selling you for a jigsaw puzzle? Someone's in my body, someone's in my body, someone's in my body.
If you check out this album, it's called The Undertaker. It's a really sweet guitar piece. The body positioning on the album and the body position on the floor with the death photos are the same. Pretty much the same. That's because everything was foreseen, and it's why the movie Under the Cherry Moon. April 20th, 2016 was in fact a cherry moon. It wasn't just that. April 21st was the Queen Elizabeth's 90th birthday and 70th year jubilee. So, sounds like something was planned for April 21st, 2016. And yes, that is what I'm insinuating, because that's what I was told in the afterlife. It's why he told us about Bob George during the Love Sexy era. Bob George is a code word. Consider the date 4/21/2016. 4 plus 2 is 6. 2 plus 1 is 3. 2 plus 1 is 3. And then we have a 6 over here on this end. You can bring down the 3s and the 6s, and it spells Bob, G-E or G-E. So the date of 4/21/2016, there was a plan. There was, that's why the people came unannounced to Paisley Park, and that's why the fentanyl was self-induced. Y'all can think it all sounds crazy, but when I turned 13 years old, I heard Purple Rain, and I knew that I had never heard anything like it in my entire life. Something grabbed a hold of me when I heard the combo, I Would Die For You, and then it went into Baby I'm a Star. When I came home from school, it would be on MTV, that segue, would play those two songs. I listened to the music as if it was my own. If anyone's watching these videos that knows me, you know I tried to turn you on to the love of Prince music, and it wasn't just the man that I was hearing, it was the masterful melodies and these journeys that my mind went on when I heard the music. And when I heard the music, to me, it was like reading the Bible. Like, to date, I have been studying, the Bible and now the Torah for 30 years, and I've been listening to Prince music for 41 years, although I don't listen to it much anymore because of all the screaming and because of what I'm telling you now, because of the facade that is Paisley Park. It's why we were asked, what is plectrum electrum? Electricity. It's torture. It was, if you look closely at this photo and you think about her saying, Wendy, is the water warm enough? If you look at his leg, you can see, I mean, I'll use the word shapeshift. He showed me in the afterlife that he could change, and he didn't. I saw him in different aspects, and one of them was that he could change. His one hand worked more like a claw, and that would be the left arm. And if you read the research, it says that when Taika got to Paisley Park, she asked that the body was covered, everything except for the left hand. And when I saw it, it works, more like this, just like it can morph, and it's just two pieces like that. And then there's this depiction of the infamous Purple Rain cover. But if instead of looking at Prince, you look at this black with the two orange, look at him as eyes, and then the interior of the bike is like a little machine body. And then over here, this long part that comes down, this long part above my head down here is like the arm that can change and hold, and then the little claw thing right above my head. So he was depicting in these covers his other self that he showed me in the afterlife. Being the masterful creator that he is, all of his records, all the art, all the songs, they all showed something, and this one is depicting time and what I'm talking about, and somehow time has been tricked and actually ended in 1999 and was kept running by the power of CERN or something like that. But this is the one I meant to bring up. Is you see in the background, you see this white shape. It's like reminiscent of one of those bubble goldfish. One eye, one eye. In my writings, I write about how he's the ancient one. He showed me himself as this beautiful white apparition of loveliness that I dropped my gaze after I tried to step forward, and there was keepers, and he was on a chariot and a throne chair, and it wasn't always just Prince, the man that we know. It wasn't like that. I don't know how to explain how he showed himself as a person and then showed himself as these things, but it's how it went down. He also explained why he was